Over to Liverpool, Paul. There are big claims that Mo Salah has already agreed a move to Saudi this summer. Which club would be most likely to land him? You're our resident Saudi expert.
Well, Al Nassr are looking at Casemiro, Al Nassr Ronaldo's team, but they've got their quota already, so they have to move players out to get players in. The top two, Etihad and Al Hilal, they'll be in a similar way. They've both got a trade to bring players in, but the draft's done differently over there. I think the league and the clubs discuss how the players are signed and where they go. The strange one this season is Al Qadsiya. They're a newly promoted team this year. It's Aubameyang's team actually, and Quinones plays for them. Quinones and Aubameyang. They're sitting third in the Saudi Pro League. They've really put a cat amongst the pigeons this year. Whether they get strengthened even more, I can't imagine that Mo Salah would go to a newly promoted team, a newly, formed team in the top division. But actually, they're the team to watch. Al Qadsiya with Aubameyang, Quinones. They've come up into the league this year. They're sat in third. They've got to the semi-final of the King's Cup. Etihad, who are sat top of the league, and Al Qadsiya, they've avoided drawing each other in the semi-final of the cup. So it's looking like it could be a Qadsiya Etihad final. Listen, if Mo Salah is to go to Saudi, there's only three realistic destinations for him: Al Hilal, Etihad, or Al Nassr. Maybe Al Ahly, but Al Ahly's where Ivan Toney's gone. So there's no real need. There's potentially need to strengthen them. Al Ahly, Al Hilal, Al Ittihad, or Al Nassr are the likely destinations. As I say, Al Nassr with Ronaldo, they're talking about extending his contract to however many million that he's on every week. So I think that'll be a difficult one to do. Laurent Blanc's at Ittihad, that's a top team, but Karim Benzema's there. So Salah, Benzema, etc. Al Hilal, to be fair, Al Hilal might be the one because of Neymar with his injuries and where he's going to be. If Neymar leaves Al Hilal, I think there's every chance that he goes into Hilal because Mitrovic has been in there. He's been scoring the goals. Mitrovic is the Saudi Pro League top goal scorer this year, but he picked up a hamstring injury last week in the semi-final of the King's Cup. So depending on how he is for the rest of the season. But if Neymar leaves Al Hilal, there you go. I've gone a long way around it, but Al Hilal could be Mo Salah's destination under Jorge Jesus.
Yeah, look, this speculation isn't going to go away until we know what's happening with his contract at Liverpool. Obviously, there was a bit of a mischievous picture sent out by Turkey Al Sheikh, who's obviously very influential in Saudi sport, mainly focuses on the boxing, but he's obviously put a picture of Mo Salah in an Al Hilal top so that's obviously got everybody talking about it as well. But look, there's no surprise here. If Mo Salah ends up running down his contract and leaving Liverpool, Saudi Arabia is going to be one of the top options for him because they're one of the only places that can offer him the lucrative personal terms and the huge deals that are going to convince maybe Salah to make the move. So look, this one's going to just rumble on for as long as it is till we know what Mo Salah is doing with his future. Is he going to sign a new contract at Liverpool or is he going to explore his options as a free agent? So yeah, this one will continue to dominate the transfer speculation.
Al Hilal will be the one because they were the ones they've dominated for such a long time. They went on an incredible unbeaten run under the manager Jorge Jesus for I can't remember what the run was, but it was an incredible unbeaten run in the league dating back to his first spell there in charge. They've got some quality players there. I'm just looking down the list of the players that they've got there. Ruben Neves is there. He just got back fit. He played the other day. Like I say, Mitrovic is there, but Neymar's the one because Neymar has been injured. He's been in and out. They didn't register Neymar for the league this year, so he got fitter quicker than they expected. So he's only allowed to play in the Champions League up until January. Second half of the season, he's been in and out of it. There's Savic, he's there. They've got a lot of good players at Al Hilal, and they've been the dominant force. But actually, Etihad just knocked them out of the King's Cup, and Etihad has sat top of the league now after taking points off Al Hilal. So Al Hilal are the ones that are struggling. If Mo Salah does go, I didn't know that what you said, Pete, about him being put in one of the Al Hilal shirts. But if he does go, his destination could be with the Blue Waves.
Yep, makes sense. If Neymar was to leave, the marquee signing poster boy will be Mo Salah.
And Pete, we know Liverpool obviously eventually will maybe have to address that position, but midfield is one that they've been trying to bring someone in for over a year at this point. João Gomes is emerged as a big name for them potentially in midfield, an area that they will try and strengthen in hopefully this window. Could we see them get a deal done in January for the Wolves star?
I don't see a deal happening in January for João Gomes. He's obviously somebody that Liverpool have on their list of potential midfield signings. I think there's a number of clubs that like Gomez. Manchester United have also been credited with an interest in the Brazilian. It looks like Liverpool have missed out on Zubimendi, with Arsenal now in pole position to sign the Real Sociedad midfielder in the summer. So that'll be a blow to Liverpool. Look, João Gomez, a good player. He's only 23. He's been almost ever present for Wolves this season, and he has been probably a standout performer alongside Mateus Cunha in that struggling Wolves side as well. So if Wolves were to get relegated, it could really open the door up for a Liverpool or somebody else to try and sign João Gomez next summer, maybe for a much reduced fee than they would have to pay now. He's really enhanced his reputation since moving to Wolves from Flamengo in January 2023. I think for around £15 million, he's going to be at least double, or if not treble, that fee right now if you're trying to sign João Gomez. But the key for Liverpool right now is that Gomez, he's the right age profile, he's the right type of player, he's good on the ball, can create goals, he doesn't mind to tackle either, and he's got Premier League experience. So yeah, he would fit the profile for the type of player that Liverpool will be looking to add to their midfield, because obviously they did think they were going to sign Zubimendi last summer until he turned them down, and it now looks like they'll have to move on to other targets, with the player seemingly on his way to North London next season.
Pete, what's happened there? Completely off topic. Let's go on Zubimendi for a minute. I mean, Arsenal fans, we've got one with us that can chip in. Obviously, he's a massive signing to nick him off Liverpool. I mean, we know that his loyalty to Real Sociedad has been incredible. The loyalty of the player and the values. Is it just because now this is the top value that they can get for the player? Two sides to this. Why the deal now? Why is Sociedad cashing on him now? Why Arsenal? And actually, why are Arsenal doing the deal when they've got priorities elsewhere that really... Do they actually need Zubimendi in the summer?
Yeah, I think it's probably Arsenal are doing this deal now to make sure they don't lose out on him in the summer to a potential Liverpool or a Bayern Munich have been linked with as well. Look, Arsenal were probably the front runners for Zubimendi 2 to 3 years ago. He turned them down initially to stay at Sociedad. As you said, Paul, he's been very loyal to the Basque club. He obviously had a real tough decision on his hands in the summer when he did finally turn down Liverpool and stay at Sociedad. They've not had a great season, Sociedad. I think maybe that's playing part of his decision to think maybe I need to move on for the good of my career. And he has got a release clause in his contract, so if anybody meets that release clause, yeah, Sociedad are powerless to keeping him. So I think probably Mikel Arteta's probably played a pretty key role in this thing. He's obviously a former Real Sociedad player himself, comes from the Basque country, so maybe that's given Arsenal the edge over their rivals, with Arteta managing to convince Zubimendi to make the move to Arsenal, a bit like he did with Declan Rice when Declan Rice left West Ham. It was Arteta's intervention which helped sway Rice to make the move to the Etihad over other clubs such as Manchester City. So it's a real feather in the cap for Arteta and Arsenal if they do end up getting this deal done for Zubimendi, and he looks like a real exciting signing for Arsenal next season. And I think it was probably a case of let's get the deal all agreed now and let him arrive in the summer, especially when Jorginho and Thomas Partey are both out of contract and probably set to move on to pastures new.
Where does he play, Will? Where does he play in your team? Alongside Odegaard and Declan Rice?
I think we're going to move back to the double pivot that was our most successful during our run last year in like January, February era with Rice and Zubimendi in the double pivot. I mean, it just gives you a lot of options with Marino as well, who can play in there. And I think the concept of Roberto Alabe potentially being our next technical director of Sociedad plays a big role in potentially Zubimendi coming. I mean, we've brought now Marino and Odegaard, who all played together with Zubimendi at Sociedad. I just think it's an easier fit probably for the player than going to a Liverpool or a City. And as Pete mentioned, I mean, Arteta's been working on this deal for 2.5 years, basically. So it feels like one where it was time. And Zubimendi's contract, I think, is 18 months right now, or around that time. I don't think there's a ton left on it. So, yeah, I mean, I think it makes the most sense for him at Arsenal, where they are going to be missing 2 players in that position come next season, Jorginho and Thomas Partey.
Good deal. To get the player, it'd be a good deal. And there's the London factor as well, the draw of London.
Yeah.
Still, there's a lot of people don't realise that, but that does still draw a lot of foreign players in.
Yep.
100%. Lastly, with Liverpool, Paul, are you surprised by Alisson's dip in form, let's say, since he's returned? I think he's allowed 9 goals on like 14 shots since he's been back. Do you think maybe Kelleher may get a chance back in that starting role?
No, he trusts Alisson. Alisson's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. On his days, the best goalkeeper in the world. He's not in the process of changing goalkeepers in and out as an Arne Slot. Kelleher's excellent goalkeeper in his own right. And this is where we are now with stats and statistics. Listen, Liverpool were excellent at the start of the season, and when Kelleher was playing, Liverpool in a really good form, good run of form. But actually, the dip in form has coincided with more goals being conceded. That generally goes hand in hand. I think actually he's not playing poorly. I don't think his form's that bad. I think he's a top goalkeeper, he's a world-class goalkeeper, and you don't rotate a goalkeeper like Alisson just for the sake of it. If he's chucking them in left, right and centre every week and he's making mistakes and errors that lead to goals, then yeah, fair enough. But actually the stats that have been put up against him, you look at them and you think, yeah, okay, Liverpool have struggled, not struggled, but they haven't got the results that they got earlier on in the season. So if they're not winning games as comfortably and picking up as many points, they're bound to be conceding goals. So yeah, I mean it's an easy one to jump on because of the figures and the way that the stats line up. For me, Kelleher is a top backup goalkeeper, but his time at Liverpool is limited. You know, we know that Mohamed is coming in. I thought that was a really intelligent deal by Liverpool. He's one of Europe's top young goalkeepers. Alisson's got 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons left in him, whatever it is. Kelleher's not the natural successor to Alisson at Liverpool anymore. It wouldn't seem that way anyway. And I think he would have to do a lot if he came into the team to make that decision be reversed. It looks like that decision's already been made. And a top goalkeeper like Alisson, it's not even a blip. It's people over-analysing. He's a world-class goalkeeper, absolutely no issue in my mind whatsoever.